go.
What was that?
That was fantastic.
That was awesome.
That's the whole show
awesome.
done.
Let us kick off episode 4 of the MUTAGENTS live stream with a big shout out to Matt from Keep On Collecting for hooking it up on the intro. What do you guys reckon? We're stepping our game up.
Yeah, we've got an intro.
Yeah, absolute legend. Now, before we kick it off, we just got some people that jumped in early on the chat, which is awesome. So just want to show some love to those guys. We've got Yeehaw joining us early.
You're going, Yeehaw.
Mate, we've got some fun topics to get into that we're going to be ripping into. So, mate, thank you very much for joining us. We've got Nate, the Retro Tinker, who we were lucky enough to, have the opportunity to meet just a couple of weeks ago. So that was awesome. Speaking of blokes we had the chance to meet, we've got Scree Collects. Michael, appreciate you tuning in, mate, and appreciate you plugging our stream in your stories, mate. That's just awesome. So
appreciate it, man.
Glad to have you join us, mate. We've got Phil. G'day, Phil. Hope you're having a good. Well, hope you had a nice weekend, mate. Hope things are going okay for you, mate. Welcome and glad you could join us. We've got Chris from Chasing 80s Toys. Welcome.
Hey.
We've got Steve from the UK.
Steve.
Thanks for joining us, Steve. Appreciate it, mate. I'm thinking it's probably like late morning or maybe lunchtime there, Steve. So glad you could join us, mate. We've got Adam.
You going, Adam?
I'm assuming that's our that's our mate Adam. Yeah, I don't want to put his surname out there, but yeah, that's our mate Adam. Thank you for joining us, buddy. We've got Jewel.
How you going, Jules?
G'day, Jewel. We've got Melton.
How you going, Melton?
Hello.
I don't know Melton, but Melton, welcome, my friend. Please show off a complete turtle copter. I would be happy to do that, but I don't have one, unfortunately, mate. That's still on my list. That's still one I'm trying to track down. But, mate, thanks for joining us. We appreciate you tuning in. And, yeah, it's 10 a.m. for Steve. So, yeah, those are our guys in the chat that have joined us nice and early. So we really appreciate you guys. And for the boys joining me on the stream, how are you guys doing? All good?
Excellent.
Man, fantastic. We're back. Episode 4.
Yep. Episode 4. We made it to episode 4. As you said before we went live, the show has been going longer now than the original 90s live action franchise went for. So cheers to that.
That's it, boys.
Yeah. G'day, Rolando. Thank you for joining us, mate. Hope you are doing well. We appreciate it. But yeah, guys, we've got some fun stuff to chat tonight. We've got a couple of different topics lined up. We've got a new segment that we're excited to rip into as well. But before we get to all that, let's do our first topic. Let's get into that. Now, our first topic, we're talking about when we felt the bite of the collecting bug. Not as kids, that goes without saying that if turtles were on TV or in the aisles of the toy stores, we were all over it. But, as adults, when we felt compelled to kind of, turn our spare rooms or our garages into shrines for the toy lines and the franchises that we loved. So for this, look, we've all got stories and obviously for this topic and right throughout the evening, we look forward to getting your guys' thoughts in the chat. But for this topic, this was a topic suggested by Dan. So why don't you kick us off, mate?
Okay, so so when I was younger, obviously I had Ninja Turtles as a kid. Put them away, forgot about them. Years later, married man now, got a child on the way. So, I did have a child on the way back when this was back in 2020, I think it was, or 2021, sorry. Just started watching YouTube videos and falling in love with these giant NECAs. So the wife was talking, she goes, "You want to go to a toy fair?" And this is a local one, Collecticon, as we all know it. So we went along and just walking along the aisles. All I see is the four brothers and the Raphael in disguise, a giant NECA. So I said to the guy, I go, "Mate, what are you after for it?" And he threw me a ridiculously good deal. He wanted 800, but he's doing for 700. So I was like, it was pretty damn cheap when they're normally around 250 a piece. And so then and there I go, all right, I haggled him again and got it for 650. But yeah, we purchased them, came home with them, realized I just made a hell of an investment. I just bought 5 figures that are yay tall and
the quarters.
I got nowhere to put them yet. So,
and that's to tell the wife.
Yeah. So no, she was the one that pushed me to buy him. That was the best part. But
that's awesome.
Yeah. So that night I was straight on the internet searching cabinets and all that sort of stuff because I thought if I'm gonna have these, I'm not gonna let them sit in box. I don't want to waste that. So yeah, we bought a cabinet. Got about a week later, put it together. Then next second, the missus like, now I need some quarter scales. So she bought the Iron Man quarter scale and a Deadpool one. So we got them, and then I realized, well, I've got so much room in this cabinet still, and I've got so much toys still at my mother's. So went over, I just started bringing totes over and cleaning up, and then I realized I don't have as many turtles as what there was back in the 90s. So then it just snowdrops to more and more buying, and but to be honest, like the whole toy collecting thing that's really got me in the bug is when someone mentions something that you didn't remember, like, but you remember when you were a kid, you remember, but it's just in the back of your mind, and then all of a sudden it just clicks, and that nostalgia you get that back in your hands, it's just and every time, I must admit, for me, I don't know if it is for others too, when I walk past my cabinets with the toys in it, I don't have to look at every figure. It's just I'll look at one and I'll just put a smile on my dial for the day. Like I don't know why it just brings back that enjoyment I had as a kid, and I'm not even playing with them anymore. It's just and it's good to see things stand the test of time too.
Oh, absolutely.
But and then it's just obviously, as you know, the next thing you start collecting Rock Lords, you start collecting all sorts of stuff, Muppet Bay, all sorts of stuff. It just never ends. So, but it's good, and the beauty of it too, the community that we've met along the way. So we've been to probably about 6 or 7 collecticons now. Met all used boys, met a lot more other people, and it's just. It's a really good community. Being in the automotive trade, I've been in a lot of car clubs over the years and stuff like that. They're poison. There is so much political stuff involved in them, and it's just horrible to be part of clubs like that. So to be in this like community, it's refreshing, So like people are just so friendly and they're willing to help each other out, and it's just big credit to everyone.
Sure. Just a couple of things there, Dan. Firstly, I regularly forget how recently you guys started collecting. I mean, I've only beat you by a couple of years. I'm not like the Keep On Collecting boys or whatever. They've been collecting for 20 years plus. But man, your collection's awesome when you take into account, or your collection's awesome regardless. But particularly when you take into account the fact that you started in 2021, it's not that long ago. Man.
I've stuffed up. Actually, it was March 22. So,
okay.
2022. Even smaller. March 22.
No, last year.
Yeah, last year.
I'm sure that I met you in 2021. No.
Nah, I think it was 2022, mate.
Okay, fair enough, man. That's even crazier. And the other thing that kind of jumps out at me about that story is like, you kind of dived in the deep end. Like when I think about my early purchases, they weren't like $600 or $700. You know what I mean? They weren't big ticket pieces. So I mean, it's awesome that you saw something that you really, really liked, and then you just happened to see it at a toy fair and the deal lined up. I mean, I don't think you went. You probably didn't go there planning on dropping that sort of coin, but it's just an interesting like first purchase to get you started. You know what I mean?
Well, when I knew I wanted the movie ones, and that's the only NECAs I've got other than the other two my wife bought. But once I seen them all there at once, especially the In Disguise where he wears the coat,
the trench coat.
Yeah,
that one you don't see that often. So when I seen the whole set of them there, I knew I had to buy it then and there, because I didn't want to collect one and then have to search others and buying loose. I'll never buy loose NECA. You just got to be silly to buy that sort of stuff. Like, unless you know the collector and they're going to look after it, you would never buy loose.
Well, I mean, a big part of NECA is like all the interchangeable hands and stuff like that, isn't it? Like to get that loose, it would be.
I don't even pull them out. For that example, they're very tight. Some of them. But, yeah.
Fair enough. We've got Andrew joining us. Just want to say g'day to Andrew.
How you going, Andrew?
And we've also got
Hi,
TJC. Welcome, buddy. Thank you
Hey.
for joining us. And that's it just for the minute. So, yeah, I mean, but what you say is 100% right. Like, you've just what I try to think about when it relates to collecting is like, it's easy when you have that collector's mindset to be like all about like the next thing. You know what I mean? I've got this now, but what's next? That's just natural. I mean, it's, you know, the collecting, the hunting is probably the bigger part, more so than just owning all this stuff. It's about that process. But it is super important to take the time to really enjoy what you got and look at what you got and let that bring a smile to your face rather than just being always about the next thing. So I agree with you 100% there.
Yeah, it sounded like, Dan, you were searching the naked toys at the time. So were you searching a lot of toys, but you just didn't pull the trigger?
I was searching a lot of toys. Obviously, I think I'm 100% here where I watched Scott's video of a Collecticon before we actually went to that first one. So I kind of had an idea, but I wasn't ready to collect vintage TMNT because I just wasn't. I loved it, but I just didn't know. I didn't know the vast how big it was either, because like I've been going from a 6-year-old mindset of just going, I got turtles, to going, holy shit, this thing is huge, you know. So
yeah.
But after once you scratch the bug, it just keeps going. Like I said, I've just continued. I'm just doing the character line. I eventually will get very like certain ones, as you know, but
yeah, Scott says that too.
Yeah, famous last words.
I've stuck to my guns so far, kind of.
One thing I will give people in the chat: if you're not collecting, don't buy lots. Don't buy loose lots and stuff. It's too hard to get all the weapons and all that sort of stuff if you are going for a completist, you know. So it's just
true.
There's
but
a lot of junk.
Lots can be fun too, because
they can be heaps of fun.
Lots can have surprises in them.
Oh shit, they can be fun
if you can find one these days. I haven't seen a lot of turtles in over a year now.
True.
Yeah. So that's it for us.
And you bang on about the community. I mean, it's kind of sounds cliche at this point, like, because I always make a point of, you know, mentioning this in videos and stuff like that. But it's super special, mate. Like, I haven't really experienced. I mean, to be honest, like, I've had a couple of like heroes on social media and stuff like that, but that's going to happen in any category. I don't think of that as like the community, but you know, before we jumped on, guys, like, one thing we were talking about is, like, I was just saying how sick it would be through these streams would be if some people that don't collect turtles, maybe turtles weren't their thing as growing up. They didn't have the same nostalgic connection. But, you know, if we can talk about some of this stuff and show off some of these toys, maybe it inspires someone to maybe think, you know what, I'm going to start picking up some of these vintage turtles because, you know, I didn't grow up with them, but man, the sculpts and the colors and the storytelling that went into the line, it's A1, and I want to experience that. I always think that if someone was to watch one of my videos or chat with me or any of these gentlemen joining me and start collecting, like, that's friggin' awesome, man. Like, it's the complete opposite of gatekeeping. Like, the more the merrier as far as I'm concerned, even if it means the prices that I've got to pay are a little bit higher, because there's now more people chasing it. Like, whatever, like, the more the merrier. So I totally second what Dan said about the community here as well. Like, the real world is in, like, you know, when you go to toy fairs and stuff and you're chatting face to face, but also like on you know, socially, you know, social media wise, YouTube and so on, for the most part, like, it's just awesome, man. So yeah, happy to hear you call that out.
100%. Then we got Carl here too. There he is.
Hey, Carl.
Right there.
Hey, buddy. Haven't spoken
That's
to
my t-shirt.
Carl.
Carl. Carl, my t-shirt.
What, the NBA Jam style t-shirt? I
Yeah,
freaking love that shirt, eh?
You should be getting you one too, I think.
But yeah, Carl's just a prime example of what we're talking about here, in just, you know, good people, and then we find common ground through. Even though we're from different backgrounds, we do different things for work, but, you know, the toy thing is just like a massive point of common ground for us, and you forge friendships, and it's just awesome, man. So yeah,
man. And one shout out to Carl, I'll give him lately. Like, he went out of his way to wish my wife happy birthday on her birthday. Like, obviously, he knew her birthday was coming up, but like, just went out and messaged her. You know, like, it was, he didn't have to, you know, but it put a smile on her doll. You know, so thank you very much, Carl.
Good people.
Small things in the
Hey,
community.
Simon. Hope you're doing well, buddy. And yeah, TJC, the community's helped me get through some low times, and yeah, can't thank people enough, man. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, listen, you have good days and bad, but this sort of stuff definitely helps me on my not so good days. So I'll second that for sure. Alrighty, who's up next?
I want to hear Enzo.
Yeah, let's go, Enz.
Go, Enz.
So, I mean, I'm not new to the collection scene, but I guess there was a point where, because for me, a lot of the stuff for many, many years lived in tubs, because it just, not that we didn't have space, I guess just things were different, and I kind of had the space I did was I was using, because I'm a massive movie buff, using it as dedicated cinema. And then after kind of having children, I've got an 8 and a 5-year-old. The cinema was never really being used because late at night we couldn't crank it. Baby monitor didn't reach all the way down because I had a really long 50-meter block and the room was right at the back. So it was just one of those rooms that never got used. And at that point I was like, well, I've got all this stuff in tubs. And I was really heavily into gaming and toy collecting, probably more gaming at that point. Like I still had all my toys from, 90s and 2000s. So I kind of put all the game stuff in, bit of toys. And then, the gaming, I kind of got it, not over the whole gaming thing, because the gaming community is very different to the toy community. 90% of the gaming community, I've got to say, is pretty rough. It's nowhere near as friendly as toys. And I think toys, because of that kind of, hardy, nostalgic connection, there's less heartless people in this community than there is in gaming. But I started evolving the room then, because I was like, I'm sort of sick of seeing everything in tubs. And then I kind of started going, it's maybe too gaming heavy. So I bought more tubs in. And that would have been probably around 2020. And because obviously we were spending so much time at home, I was like, I'm going to buy some shelves and buy some more cabinets. And so the bug really hit around 2019, 2020, when you started putting everything on display and it started looking as good as this, and, the Calaxes and the defaults, I think they're called, with the glass.
Yep.
And everything starts looking nice, and then you want to add more, and it becomes this kind of domino effect. And then, COVID didn't help, where you're just sitting at home and you just surf online. But I think my bug was really when I transformed that cinema room to a games room, which then kind of evolved into a games toy room, which eventually became 80% toys and less game. I culled probably 80% of my gaming collection. I just kept the stuff that I had an emotional connection to. I had a lot of stuff that I'd never even opened, touched, would never play. Sorry, Dean, you were saying?
Yeah, I was just going to ask, because I'm in that same sort of boat where I'm looking at my games going, do I cull them, and will I have a massive regret if I do that? Did you find that?
I actually thought I would. And to be honest, the moment I packed them, I was like, I had like 80% I'd say were like shelf fillers, just because you wanted to have as many Super Nintendo games or as many, and I just got to a point where they took up so much space. And remember, with games, you only see the spine. Unless you're lucky to have that much room that you can have front on, and the artwork is fantastic, especially all the retro stuff. But everything was kind of spine loaded, and I'm kind of going, unless you really walk up to it, like, what's the point, And then obviously toys are the complete opposite, because there's so much color and so much kind of to look at. Like I was saying before, you just walk past them and it puts a smile on your face. So, walking past a shelf of games kind of looks a little bit like a library. I mean, I know some people get off on books with the spines, but it does nothing for me, And the game started, I think, funny enough, the toys on display probably started overshadowing the games on display, because you look at one side of the room and it was so lively and colorful, and then you look at the other side of the room and it was kind of a bit dull, if that, without sounding a bit negative. But and that's that moment when it really hit, and I started bringing more tubs in from the warehouse, from the storage locker, and started getting, how do I get more of this stuff on display, and how do I get more? And then it got to a point where I had everything on display, and then obviously that bug then hits, and you start buying and buying and buying, and then flipping the games to make money for more toys, and this domino effect of, oh, just buy this line, I'm not going to worry about the rest. That never happens. Because all it takes is you see one that you said you'd never buy, and it's in your hand, and you kind of go, I'm never going to see this again, and then you buy it, and then you need the other 4, right, or the other 3.
Of course, yeah. If you get one turtle from a subline, you've got to have the others.
Yeah. And I've been neglecting. I mean, even now with this room, I've been neglecting it because I'm hardly in here. Just because of how busy life is. In the last 4 weeks, I've been really beaten around with a sickness. But when you are in here and you can sit and take it in, the longer you sit, the better it becomes.
For sure.
But yeah, for me, it was definitely, obviously, I've been collecting since I was a kid. There was a period between, I reckon, 2000 and 2010, which I collected nothing. Everything just lived in tubs. And, I may have seen a few little figures here and there. But it was 2010 when I kind of started getting onto eBay and YouTube. It was a lot of channels that influenced. I mean, even Scott's to blame for my Hasbro wrestling. I had like 3, and I said I'd never need any more. And I've got like, I don't know, there's like 3 cabinets over there of like Hasbro, and all this type of stuff. So it's kind of like the influence you get from. And, it's funny because you look at the joy. There's a video that Scott you did, where you were talking about the wrestling figures. And a mate of mine was actually with me watching them. And he goes, you can tell this bloke really loves his wrestling because he was so passionate the way it was coming across the video. And I think that is what is like a drug. It's a bit of an adrenaline. When I see that in videos, it makes you kind of go, like, these are really cool, because look at the influence it's having on this one person. People by people. So I think a lot of the time, the YouTube, like Dan was saying and Dan before, massive influence. So I think between having the room, not having the room, then having the room, and then filling it, and then seeing the difference between toy and gaming, and then jumping onto YouTube and seeing all these channels, it was just a domino effect. Once you've got all that, you're fucked. This is no turning back.
Well, that's a hell of a compliment, mate, about watching one of my videos, and you could tell how enthusiastic I was. So I do appreciate that. Phil's just commented on the arcade machine. Is that a one-up machine, or is that a vintage?
No. So this arcade machine, here's a story, and I don't know if this is really possibly true, but I was looking for an original, and that's original as original can come. I mean, Allied Industries, they used to just get the boards. It was too hard to ship the arcades from the US over. So they just get the boards, and they'd use basically generic cabinets in the 90s that would be used for Street Fighter and all that type of stuff. And then they would make it into Turtles. Now, I always wanted an original. I had an arcade one-up, and I'm 6 foot. So using one of those is just too difficult, even with a riser.
Especially with multiplayer and stuff. I've always wondered on those one-ups, like how that,
Yeah, you're kind of like stuck next to each other. I mean, even this is still tight. But then I just put some feelers out during COVID. Has anyone seen one of these in Perth? Because I didn't want to have to ship it across. And I saw one pop up, and then I was like, nah, it's a lot of money. I'm not going to worry about it for now. 12 months later, I came across one in a video, and this guy had fully restored it. The video was mint. The cabinet was wicked, and I couldn't find one. And then I happened to actually, Ryan, the collector kid, had said, see if that guy from a year ago is still selling it. So sure enough, I did a search in that group from a year ago, and his post came up, and I said, is this still available? And sure enough, it was, and he took half of what he wanted originally.
Oh, wow.
It hadn't sold. Now, the cool story is there's a sticker on the back that says that this thing's from Time Zone in Fremantle, which is the arcade that I used to play at as a kid.
That's wild.
Now, at what point, I don't know, it might have been replaced. It could have been at a different period that I was there. I'd like to think this is the one that I played on as a kid. It's had no work done on it at all, so it's like fully original. And yeah, I love it. It's great. The downside is that it is only the first game. It's not the second game. Turtles in Time arcade is ridiculously hard to find. But maybe one day. Don't know. We'll see.
Wow. So that could be the one that you played back in the day.
Well, let's just say it is.
Yeah, why not?
Are you sitting in this room now? No. So this was at my old house. We actually just sold our place 6 months ago and have moved into this property. So no, this is a completely different room now. And to be honest, this room's actually better than the last one because I've managed to segregate the gaming and the toy to two different areas as well. So it's not like one big room that shares the space. But yeah, it's I'm happy with this space now. It's cool.
That's sick.
Very nice.
Yeah, I suppose TJC, you could, collecting. There's definitely a fine line between collecting and hoarding. So, mate, you're among safe company here as far as being a hoarder.
I was a whore, mate. I was such a whore. I had every console ever made with variants, with like nearly all the titles on every console ever made. Like I'm talking like hundreds of thousands of dollars of gaming stuff, and I got rid of 80% of it.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, we're going off topic a touch, but the interesting thing, with gaming to me, and like I've got like a dozen games, all nostalgic stuff, all cartridge only, and I literally rotate through them because I've only got 12, so I'll play them. I find it kind of interesting when you look at like hardcore retro gaming collectors because you collect hundreds, if not thousands, of games. Like, do they get played? Are they just a display piece? Because if it's a cartridge only spine facing display, it's like, how is that display? You know what I mean?
No, so I reckon 90% of gamers that I talk to say they've never played their games.
So it's kind of collecting to collect, whereas at least and look, I'm not judging. I mean, that if that brings the person joy, beautiful. For us, the way that you enjoy this stuff as adults is display. So it kind of that takes care of itself as long as you can get into your toy room and enjoy it. It's without a doubt.
I mean, pinball, everyone goes, they take up so much space. I said, yeah, but it's all art. Like, you could look at it. You could stare at machines for days and just find new information. So
you could have a Picasso or you could have this.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Very well.
My bug. So I lean really close to what Enzo said. So collecting all my life, for those of you that know, from late teenage years all the way up to about 32, 33, and I'm 38 now. My parents, my dad especially, he kept everything, and he just packed it all away. So when I moved out, I moved into my new home with Sarah, and we started our adventure. Our garage was just our dumping ground, like most people's garages is where you put all the crap that you don't know where to put. And I was still going to Collecticon fairs. So Penrith's was at Penrith Panthers, a little pavilion there that
Collectomania.
Is that where it used to be? Okay.
So Collectomania, that was hot and sticky and bad lighting and so many people in there. And they did the Campbelltown one as well. So that's where Collecticon sort of really started. So I used to go with my dad. My dad and I'd go. We'd pick up a couple of things. That was it. Nothing like the craziness that we are now. But what really got me was I was doing what Enzo was doing. I was putting them all in tubs. I was just stacking them away, leaving them at Dad's house or putting them in my garage. And I'd think about it every now and then. And I'd go out and open a tub and I'd look at a couple of things and then I'd close it up and off we go. And I didn't really like that. So I started to think, how could I store this stuff? And that's when I found my main man, which is not Scott. It's Ed's Retro Geek Out. So that would have been, 2017, 2018? Around that time, I found Ed on YouTube and the stuff that he was finding and the turtle stuff I didn't even know there was. And I was just like, hold on, I've got a tub of turtles at Dad's house. And I was like, ooh. But I already had everything that I had here, and I had no room, and I had no garage because it was full of all our camping and all of our crappy furniture and all this stuff that we brought over to fill our new home with. So I went to my wife, and I said, I'm going to build a garden shed out the back. I'm going to build a whole garden shed, and then I'm going to move everything out into that, and then can I turn the garage into a game toy room? And I was like, yeah. It's our house. It's our new house. Go and have fun. Go do what you do. So yeah, so I had to do all that, and I got all the guys and girls over one Easter weekend, and we all laid pavers and we put the shed up and we got all that done. We moved everything into it, and then I had this empty garage. And what? It's probably 10 by 6. It's a big area. Then I didn't know what to do with it all. So I had all these plastic tubs with all these figures, and I was like, how do I do this? And my dad said, well, there's one Detolf at my house, take that. So that's what I started with. One little Detolf.
Even your dad's supplying this one.
I
love it.
Now I've got...
He's a legend. 8
Detolfs.
How many Detolfs do you reckon have been sold and ruined marriages?
Oh, non-stop. But that was the bug. So that got me thinking, okay, now I can display all my toys. I can display all my video games. I can set up a couch. I can watch my TV, and I can do all this in my own home, feel comfortable. But I didn't have anyone to talk to. I didn't have anyone to hang with. My brothers weren't really into that. My dad, obviously, he lived in his own house. We'd do the collecticons, but my dad wasn't going to sit down and play like retro video games with me. So I was like, okay. And that's when I saw Scott. So Scott did a video on a collecticon in Penrith. And I was like, hey, this guy's talking my mojo and he's local. I'm like, all right. So I reached out to him. I'm like, hey, dude, like some of the stuff, I can't remember. It might have been gladiators, the Australian gladiator figures. And I said, yeah, I've got some of them.
We've got to be the only 2 people in the world that like those figures.
It was, eh? So I think we lined up like a swap. I'll meet you in line and we'll just hang out.
Yeah.
You'd already sort of started talking with Matt and Andrew from Keep On Collecting, which my dad kind of knew. My dad knew those 2 guys from the...
Oh, really?
Yeah. So he didn't know them. He didn't know them by name or like YouTube and that, but he just knew that they'd been collecting for
familiar faces.
Yeah. So it all started up, but we met each other during nearly the COVID time. I remember that. But and then it goes on to Dan's point about community. That started this little toy group that we got. So our partners all came to the cons, Matt and Andrew, yourself, Dan, and then all the live streaming started, and then the bug just went nuts. Now
it's a full-on infestation up in here.
It is. And
hey, Dean, question for you.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting in a room at the front of the house, and it's 30-something degrees here, and I'm sweating like a gypsy with a mortgage. But how's the garage? Have you fully insulated that, and like how do you find it with temperature and everything? Yeah,
temperature does get not too bad, but we get 40 plus days, like yourself.
Have you insulated the garage door?
No. So all I did was bar it all up so you couldn't drive through it. But no, just carpeted paint, just made it feel like warm, fans, that sort of stuff.
Yep.
But it doesn't get used in the real bad heat of the day. The good part is it's on the southern side of the house, so it doesn't get that brutal sun smashing down on it. So that I'm very lucky about that. Talking about my video games and the video game bug, I went hardcore into video games. I had kept all my Sega Master System games. I kept all my SNES games, and then I was a really big Xbox kid through the 90s. Played a lot of 360 and still play today. So I still like AAA titles, but I do walk out, look at the spine. So I got 2 Billies from IKEA with the extensions on top. So what's I got about 1,500 games in those cabinets. And when I go out there, it's kind of like going through Netflix and you can't find anything to watch. You also can't find anything to play.
There's a lot of toy money sitting on those shelves, buddy.
I know, right? And I find when I've had a few drinks and it's quiet and late at night, I'll be staring at it going, oh, I'm going to play this. And I'll get it out and I'll put it in. I'm like, fuck, this is shit.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, oh, I'm going to play this. But I just I've been really looking at it lately going, and it's double stacked. So everything at the back's not even getting eyeballed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's probably sports titles. 17 NFL games that I'm like, I'm not going to play them. So I've been really considering calling, and yeah.
Do it. You reinvest your money in toys. That's what I did. It was the best thing I ever did.
Yeah, like the boys and us have been talking about doing a trip down to Melbourne, and I'm really considering I could sell that off, have money to play with down there, which I heard I'm going to need it.
It'll come in handy, that's for sure. Just want to give a shout out to a couple of guys in the chat. We've got Ed5 joining us. Hey, buddy.
Hello,
Hope you're
Ed.
doing well. We've got Ryan the Collector Kid. We were just chatting about you earlier, mate, talking about the pinball stuff. So, mate, thank you for joining us. And, hang on. I'm assuming this is Andrew. You've still got to move your laundry stuff out. You know, you got the pocket of space still there to be used for toys.
Small one on that, yeah. When I had Matt and Andrew and you fellas over the first time to see the room, everyone's looking at toys. Andrew's walking around the perimeter trying to figure out how I could make more space for more toys. So he's in my laundry going, you don't really need a dryer. Like, get rid of that. But yeah, mate. Yeah, I'll definitely look into it.
Yeeha's just saying, crazy how Ed's Retro Geek Out was born in the same year as TMNT came out. So I'm assuming, born in 88, which is pretty wild, man. Like, when you think about the guy being so passionate about TMNT, but, I mean, who knows? I mean, maybe it was later to come there. Like, it was a bit later here. I feel like TMNT wasn't much of a thing here until about 1990. I could be wrong. I was only 5 or 6 at the time, so my memory could be off. But, it's interesting.
Ed's channel was quite influential for me when I started wanting to like put everything on display, because you used to watch his channel and all the rooms he'd go visit, and he did that one room of that turtle, like it was full turtle, and I was like, the day after, I remember going IKEA cabinets, get rid of gaming stuff. Literally within 48 hours, I flipped, and he was very influential to making it kind of bug on the room.
100%. And just
he's a legend.
Just the community sense, like when he's hanging out with the other guys, Narc and Greco, like that made me think, well, they're people that I can hang out with, because I would sort of collect in secret, and I guess like I got used to that through my sort of teenage years. Yeah, it was like I want to collect this nerdy stuff, which is now not so nerdy. It's like socially accepted and like it's cool to talk about. But back then, when I was a teenager, like it was all about being cool and like you show that. It's not like bring over the girl and go, "Hey, look, what do you reckon?" Awesome. But there was a question there. Someone asked about a turtle game. I think it was Yeeha.
I'm just trying to work my way through. I just want to say g'day to a couple of people. G'day, Dino. I'm assuming Dino's at the gym right now. But, mate, we appreciate you popping in, and we hope you'll join us again afterwards if you can. Yeeha was asking about Aussie Gladiators figures. Yes, indeed. They did put out Australian Gladiators figures and play sets. They were straight repaints of what I'm assuming the American Gladiators. I know for sure they're repainted the UK Gladiators into Australian Gladiators. I've not had American Gladiators before, so I don't know if they're the same scale or not. But, yeah, they're just straight repaints. They don't look an awful lot like the characters that inspired them.
They're bigger, aren't they, Dean? The American ones?
So which one? That's the American Gladiator?
Yeah, is that the same size?
Yeah, exact same size.
It is the same size.
So that's an Australian Gladiator. It's Taipan.
Are they bringing the show back?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, apparently, yeah.
Dean's a contestant.
Yeah, so you can see American, if you can read that.
Are the American ones bigger?
No, same size. Oh,
so maybe it's the same sculpts for the English, American, and Aussie.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Definitely musclier. Like,
okay, well, I just remember someone commenting. I just remember someone commenting on one of my videos saying Vulcan looks nothing like the Vulcan figure looks nothing like the Vulcan dude because he was a repaint of an English gladiator. So there you go. We got Lee. Hey, brother. I appreciate that. The hair and the beard are both running rampant at the moment. So I don't know. I'm just going with it. Yeah, Nate. At what point? Very true. Very true. Yeah, I got a couple of Billies in the garage.
But Yeehaw was asking TMT NES game, so yes.
Oh, have I missed it?
That's
or is
right.
it? Have I not got to it yet? Oh yeah, here we go. Yeah, Lee. Appreciate you chiming in, and yeah, Yeehaw TMNT NES.
Yeah,
the most frustrating NES game of all time.
I didn't have the NES console. It was the one I skipped. I went the Sega Master System too, and then jumped over to the SNES. So while I do have a copy of the TMNT NES, I was a hardcore Turtles in Time on the SNES, which I just loved.
Yeah, I was a big Sega fan. I didn't play much SNES.
Yeah, it's one console I still do want. Like, I'm not going for every console, but I'm going for those major consoles. But again, the retro gaming, a little off topic, but I just pull out the emulator. It's so simple. I don't have 1,000 consoles I have to plug in and figure out.
That's one of the reasons why I started cuddling using emulators or like those EverDrives. You can put any game ever made on there, and it's a exact replica. So, speaking of Ed before, any update on Ed's collection?
On Ed's collection, in what sense?
Yeah, it didn't. Well, it was about 2 months ago.
Ed.
Ed 5.
Ed 5.
Yeah. Sorry, I thought you were talking about Ed's Retro Geek Out.
Yeah, sorry,
I not that I've heard, not that any news has made its way to me. I mean, gosh, I hope there is something. Dan, if you're still around, mate, let us know. But yeah, I've not heard any news personally, mate. So yeah, let's hope so anyway.
Eddie? And what about you,
So,
Scott?
I've told this story before. I'll tell it quickly, but basically, I like my collecting. Honestly, I'm not really ashamed to say it because it landed me here. But my collecting kind of started with an intent to resell. I found a shoebox of my childhood, my childhood collection of like 10 or 11 Turtles figures in various states of completion, and I wasn't for a minute going to sell them, even if I didn't collect. I was hanging on to them, but I did jump on eBay and see that 80s and 90s toys had some value, and it was on the up. And this was, anyways, this was late 2018, early 2019. I bought a big lot of Hasbro wrestling figures just because I thought it would be a fun project to basically get them in hand, clean them up, match them up with their accessories where they had accessories, and sell them. And I just thought it would be something fun to do over a break where I was off work. And basically, I got that lot of figures in my hand with the ring, and I couldn't sell it. There was like 2 doubles in the lot. I sold them. And like I was with my ex-partner at the time, and I remember saying to her, you know what I might do? Like, if I can sell the bulk of these figures, maybe I'll keep 1 or 2 of them to sit on the shelf or whatever. And she's like, yeah, that's cool. And then gradually it was just like, you know what? I actually can't sell any of these. You know what I mean? It was just, I cleaned them all up with Magic Eraser, and I sat them on my shelf, and I was like, okay, which one do I sell first? And I'm like, I can't. So what happened was, shortly after that, I went to Collector Mania, the first toy fair that I'd been to. And I came home with a few weapons for the childhood Turtles figures, and I came home with a few new Turtles figures. And that was really, I like to think that like that was the moment the collecting bug bit me, because it wasn't like I was, with the exception of the Hasbro lot, it wasn't something that I wasn't really picking up stuff on eBay. I was going to these Collector Manias and stuff like that and picking stuff up, and it was that toy fair experience. Like, I know COVID brought a lot of people into the hobby because we were stuck at home and stuff like that. But to be honest, it was like that early toy fair experience for me. And you're 100% right, Dan. Like, Dean, I should say, like, it was super hot. It was super dark. It wasn't, if I was making videos, then it would be terrible. But I'm kind of nostalgic for those toy fairs. I love CollectorCon, and I don't want that to go anywhere. But I honestly miss those Collector Manias, even if there was just a couple of years. So, yeah. So it was going to those early toy fairs, not really knowing anything, and having really good experiences with a lot of sellers there who were just like stoked that someone had just discovered this and was just getting into it, and were just stoked to chat with me and explain stuff to me, and that that's when the bug bit, and I was off and running. And and the channel started in March of 2020 because the toy fairs got shut down, and the toy fairs were something that I was really looking forward to and relying. That was my kind of big thing. I wasn't doing a ton of buying on eBay, bits and pieces, but I was really counting down to each one of these collector manias. And when COVID hit, I was like, man, that's taken away. Obviously, I started looking at eBay a lot more. And then I started the channel. But yeah, it was those early collector manias to me, that first collector mania even, I would describe as like when the bug bit me, that first toy fair experience that there's tons of people that are all into this stuff, and this is just awesome, and it's all love. So that's kind of how it went down for me. Dan, no news as of yet. Had some intel that might still be in town. Alrighty, mate. Well, look, I hope something comes of it. I certainly hope. But we'll see how we go, mate. Keep us posted. And I'm assuming this is Andrew again. What does this word selling mean? Andrew has been collecting for 30 years and never sold a thing. And we love him for it. It's awesome.
Yeah. And then you went and met some awesome blokes.
That's it. So that's that. Guys, if anyone in the chat has stories around, being bitten by the collecting bug, whether it was through, seeing stuff on YouTube or on social media, or whether it was through stumbling across your childhood toys, definitely let us know. But we will move on because we've been going we're kind of about the halfway point of the stream already. So we will move on. We've got a quick little segment before we break into our next topic of discussion. And I'm going to let Dean set this one up because this was his suggestion, and I love it. And I'm looking forward to seeing how we go with it.
Nice. Thanks, Scott. So I thought about doing a small little segment spotlighting some of the figures. So each MUTAGENTS episode, two of the boys, so Dan and myself, are going to do tonight's. We're just going to pick a figure from the vintage turtle line, and we're just going to talk about pros and cons, the sculpt, little history, that sort of thing on it. So with saying that, my figure that I've selected is the Rat King. Tell me if he's blurry or not.
Actually, you know what? Sorry, let me do my job over here. How do I do this spotlight layout?
So
there we go.
The Rat King was one of the villains I had when I was a kid, and put him over here. And I just loved the color. I didn't know anything about him in the TV show. I just loved the idea of what a Rat King would be. And so this figure is from the 1989. So it's the second wave that came out. He has a couple of cool weapons. I did write them down because I can't remember every one of them. So you got the Royal Rat Bow. So that's the Royal Rat Bow. Everything's got a little rat on it.
This is a figure that everyone remembers.
This is a figure. I've probably got about double digits of this figure in all different qualities, I guess. He's got his rat hook, which is, again, it's a hook to climb with, but it's got rats as the hook.
It's super impractical. I mean, how are those rats going to hold the weight of the Rat King?
I know, right? With his tiny little rope. But that's what you get. And that's what's great about the Turtles line. You get so many funky accessories, and we'll go into that details soon. But the best part, and I'll put him down so I can hold this, is his belt.
Yeah.
Right. So you've got the snake belt, which comes with like blocks of cheese and little knives for all these little rats. But what's better than the dead roadkill run over so you can see the tracks of this cat?
The cat's got like the old school like X eyes, just so you know it's dead.
Like that is just quality. The people at Playmates are just like sitting back sculpting this. They must have been having a ball. But like the figure itself, so
you couldn't build that figure now in this white community we live in.
No, it's amazing it got fast back then, even. But still.
So he's had a different sort of career over his time throughout the series. So he was never really loyal to anyone. So he always kind of wanted domination of everything. So he wasn't always teaming up with Shredder or just against the Turtles. The Turtles were just in his road all the time. So that's what sort of happened with that. I always thought when I was younger that he controlled the rats. Sort of
didn't he? Like a Pied Piper type deal?
He did, yeah. But he had like a flute that he used. So
okay,
his main one is he could control Splinter, being a rat, obviously.
Yeah.
And doing that, but Splinter actually destroyed that flute. But in later TV shows, he actually just had the complete telekinesis, and he could just telepathic, control over all the rats. So,
wow.
yeah.
That's
so
awesome.
A couple of little things on him. He's got his rat on his little shoulder here, but if you look on his back, he's got another rat here. But for some reason, they didn't want to paint him. They just left him the same color as the mold.
So as a kid, I always assumed, because I had this figure as a kid and studied it. I mean, this is one of my favorites. But I always assumed that rat on his back was under his shirt, like crawled up under his shirt.
That's what I always thought too.
Yeah. Okay.
Or he could have just been a brown rat. I mean, not all rats are Snow White. So
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Diversity.
I like your thought pattern. The other thing he's got all these little spiders crawling over him. So it shows that he's like down in the garbage and in all the trash and where all the bugs are. He's wrapped. He's got all these wrappings on him. So he's just a wicked figure. So
sure.
That's my spotlight. So
I love how they gave him rabies too when he didn't have red eyes in the cartoon at all.
So what? His face is mad. The red eyes and like the teeth, like he's got a mad face sculpt.
Mm. Do you know his favorite food?
The bald patches in his hair, like I love all that.
Do you know his favorite food?
I don't know, cheese. I mean, what do we got?
It's the ratatouille.
Oh god,
that's seriously his favorite.
That joke for the
look him up. That's his favorite.
Really?
You look up his statistics, like his stats and that, and it's like height, tall enough, weight, heavy. Like that's all they went with. They didn't care. But that's my spotlight. So yeah,
that's awesome, mate. So just a couple of things. Firstly, I just want to say g'day to Stu, Universal Toy Collector. Welcome, buddy. Thank you for jumping in and saying g'day. Honestly, guys, the Rat King, and let's go back to this. The Rat King, honestly, for me, is a top 5 figure in the whole line. I absolutely love that figure for a few reasons. Firstly, when you think about it, there's not a lot of humans in the line. Like, really, you've got April O'Neil. Like, obviously, you got all the Toon characters, but they're kind of a little bit second tier. But if you look at humans, you've got Casey, April, you've got Baxter Stockman, but his figure wasn't his human form, and you've got the Rat King. So it's unique in the fact that it's a human, but he's got all those crazy like sculpting, gross out details that made some of the mutants so cool, and he's the only human that really has all those gross out features. But he also has nostalgia for me because the only figures that I really had as a kid were the first 2 waves. I didn't have anything from the 3rd wave onwards. I only had the first 2. And he was just the coolest figure I had as a kid, just in terms of like the sculpt and all the little details. So, yeah. I love that figure.
Yeah. So, Dan's going to do the second one. So, like I said, each episode we'll just spotlight to just a short little breakdown of the character itself.
For sure. We've definitely got some folks agreeing in the chat about just like how cool Rat King is. So, yeah, it's a good pick for sure.
I liked Michael's comment. How many slices of pizza do you rate the figure?
Let's go.
Him. I like the idea. I think we might keep that. He's definitely up there, but I want to leave room. So I'm going to go with an 8 out of 10 slices.
Well, is that a full pie? Oh, okay. So a full pie is 10 slices.
Full pizza is 8, isn't it? So let's go. Is it? Now
a pizza is usually 8, I suppose. But I feel like a full pizza means like it's 8 out of 8. You know what I mean? So, okay. But I know where you're coming from.
We'll go 6. We'll go 6.
Okay, 6 of 8.
6 of 8.
3/4 of a pie. Alrighty, let's go back to our spotlight layout and let's get Dan over here.
Okay, so my figure is Walkabout, the Outback Kangaroo. Now, the funny story with this figure is obviously Australian as we all are, you've got an Australian figure. I always thought this was a dingo until purchasing this, because whenever I purchase a TMT loose figure, I always either, if I don't get the card back, I'll study the card back that afternoon as soon as I buy the figure. So obviously after I bought it, found out it's a kangaroo. Dumb, I know, but still. Yeah, so I think he was released in 1991. It was?
Yeah, 91.
Yeah, 91. And his occupation is a crocodile hunter. So if anyone knows about the Walkabout character, he isn't in any of the cartoons, video games, comic line. He's just a character. You know, they thought they'd add, and I don't know if it was like the success of like maybe Crocodile Dundee in the early 80s, in the mid 80s. They thought that, you know, so they thought they'd sell some figure and they could do one without actually changing the character. He comes with a gun, which is called the Eliminating Elephant Gun. So, being an Australian kangaroo, I don't know.
So many elephants roaming around.
Yeah, as you know, we ride them to work. So, and he also comes with the old Bring 'em Back boomerang.
Yeah.
Which apparently always comes back if you throw it, but as we know, it doesn't. He also comes with a little sidekick, which is Kid Kangi, which is pretty much a miniature kangaroo with a stick and it's very hard to get the detail of it up.
Yeah.
The cool thing about this one was when it was a prototype, it was actually called Wally B. So he was meant to probably be a wallaby instead of a kangaroo, but obviously never happened. It just got printed out this way.
I'm assuming that
the US
I would assume that's because few people outside Australia probably know what a wallaby is.
Probably wouldn't have understood the name.
I mean, our rugby team's called the wallaby, so I suppose
exactly.
Who knows?
Being Australian is a cracker when you hear it. Could have been that because the name goes with it, you know. But the only thing I don't like about the sidekicks is they could have painted them. They really could have painted them, but yeah, they didn't.
That's one of the rare sidekicks that actually has a pinhole, a stand hole in him. So you can.
Yes. So
really?
He actually does have so you can actually put him on a stand.
Yeah, I think he might be the only one.
One of the only ones that actually has that, to be honest, too. But another funny fact is, as I said, I always study the card backs because some of them are ridiculously funny what they write about him. Like his birthplace is Sydney, Australia, so he's from our town apparently.
Nice.
Yeah.
And his favorite entertainment is watching Waltzing Matilda on tour, and also listening to the Turtles sing. So as you can see, whoever was writing these data cards back, they were just winging it, really.
They were phoning it in.
They were really.
They didn't put in a ton of it.
When you look at the figure, he's got a little eye patch here, so obviously he's had an accident down the track, and don't know how he shoots with one eye, but yeah, does pretty well for it. He also comes with a backpack which comes off, which I usually don't like to take off because you don't want to break it, you know. But
that's his
just like a little swag and a couple of little other things. That I think he's got a grenade on this side, which is a bit hard to see, but there you go, a bit more detail there. But the thing I like about this figure too is like it is a very bright figure in the collection, but like when you think of like sewer spitting ones, even I could use Toxic Avenger for example. They were throwing so many colors at things, and they did this one tastefully where it's such a bright figure, but the colors they used in the pants and the shirt, it still kind of gives you that outback vibe, if you understand what I mean. Like it's not just right out there where you go, why would anyone go through the bush in like a neon top or something like that? So
for sure.
Yeah, and another best thing about this figure too is he's got such flat big feet plus the tail. So
yeah, he's a good stander.
So well, as you know, I can't get a Donnie to stand up to save myself. So,
but he's got
his even the gun, for example, like the detail they put into this gun back then is just it's unbelievable. It's a shame they didn't paint some of the weapons. I can understand not painting, but the sidekicks is just like he would look so good with.
I've got a feeling that some of the sidekicks, like they were planning to paint them, because I remember seeing a Ray Fillet on a card back with fish sticks. I think is his little sidekick paint with some like just two colors, like the color it's molded in, and just one extra color with a bit of detail.
Yeah, 100%. You're right with that.
Also, Simon is on the same page as you. Like he thought it was a thing to up and down.
You're welcome, mate.
You're not the only one.
Yeah, the tail's where it's at, but it's definitely a cool figure. It's one of those ones I wanted to. When anything that's got a sidekick, I've got a Sergeant Bananas without a sidekick. I don't think I'm ever going to find one. Like,
that's a hard one.
I'm probably just going to have to buy it, But So
how many?
Can I put sorry, I'm trying to find. Hang on. I wanted to. Here we go. Can we put this to you?
How many slices of pizza? Ooh, so are we judging out of 8?
Yeah.
I'm probably similar with Dean, probably a 6, because I just want to leave room for the bangers. He's a good one, definitely up there. But yeah, I
reckon he's a top 12 figure for me. I like him a lot. Maybe top 15. I feel like I'm going to pick out 20 figures in my top 10. But he's up there, man. And
nothing to do with Turtles.
Oh, sorry, mate. Go ahead.
Like nothing to do with Turtles at all. Like he wasn't in the cartoon, wasn't in the video games. As people know, people go, "Oh, Scratch isn't in the cartoon, in it, nothing." He is in one of the video games. He's a boss somewhere in one of them. So most of these things that came out in the vintage line are either in a comic book or somewhere in a cartoon, in video games, all that sort of stuff. But this one was just a selling point and a market. I think they just jumped on it. And I don't know how successful that figure was, but there is a fair few of them around, and it's not super rare. So I'd say they.
I mean, it is pretty cool that we got an Aussie mutant. I mean, that's awesome, right?
When I found out, I was pretty stoked. Like
for sure. And I think Dean was going to call this out, but my favorite detail on Walkabout is, look, for those outside of Australia, you probably know anyway. I mean, a kangaroo is a marsupial. They've got the pouch, but obviously Walkabout is a male, so he doesn't have the pouch. So he's got the fanny pack or the bum bag or the waist wallet or whatever you call it in your part of the world, which I love. It's just a mad little detail.
Yeah. 100%.
Stu was asking, and we did discuss this briefly on one of the previous ones. What do you guys think of the TMNT and Mo2 mashup figures? I mean, they look pretty cool to me. I like some of the mashed up elements, like the trap jaw with the Mouser technology, and some of those details I think look pretty cool. I do like that the mutated He-Man figure looks pretty cool, but at the end of the day, it's not one that I'm going to pick up, but I can still appreciate it. That's for sure.
Yeah, I know definitely they're not going to be hanging all over the hooks for us to pick them all up here in Australia, but I'd probably get that Mutagen He-Man just because that's so.
Yeah, that is a cool looking figure.
That's a cool one. But I'm not feeling them yet, but I need to see them in person.
Yeah, the Donatello Man at Arms does look very cool, as Phil mentions here. And I was just quickly asking Dan and Dean, who are your favourite of the 4?
Raphael for me.
So I'm a Mikey fan.
Yeah.
But Raphael movie. In the movies, I preferred Raphael, to be honest, but I don't know why. Just because
that's for sure. I enjoyed that, guys. Good spotlight. I like the segment. I like the fact that we just take a minute to have a look at in detail at some of these figures. So that was awesome, man. Look forward to the next one. And Enz and I, mate, we'll have to have a think about what figures we're going to spotlight next month. But to bring it home, we've got our oh, heck yeah.
Sorry, I forgot to put that up. I just thought it'd be
No, that's an awesome little kind of hero and villain there. Yeah, so guys, just to bring it home, we want to have a chat about, and I can't remember how this topic came up, but it's one that I've been thinking about a lot lately, and I'm interested to get these guys' thoughts, and I'm interested to get your guys in the chat thoughts. And like, this doesn't just apply to turtles. We're talking accessories. Like one of the hallmarks of the vintage TMNT toy line is the fact that they came with a ton of accessories, and from a collector, it's awesome, but it's infuriating at the same time. And I'm just keen to, but with that said, like, the turtles wouldn't be as special as it is without all those crazy accessories. And we saw some awesome examples with the Rat King and with Walkabout. Like, they did reuse some accessories, but I feel like most figures got original accessories with some exceptions. It wasn't like other lines like Motu where it was like they repurposed a lot of the same weapons. But unlike Motu, they came with a ton. Like, some figures came with 2 or 3 weapons, but a lot of figures came with like 7, 8 weapons. And the part of it that frustrates me is actually the displaying part of it. Collecting them, it's a challenge from a collecting standpoint, but the big kind of bugbear for me is display. And I'll give you an example. You take a figure, and this isn't a spotlight, I'm just sharing this for the purpose of the topic. You take a figure like this guy here, Genghis Frog, right? This guy's got 8 accessories. He's got his shield, he's got his gun, he's got his shades, and then he's got 4 of his little grenades strapped to his chest like Rambo with his belt here. So if you wanted to piece those all together, what do we got? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different parts. But he can either hold, wear, or store all of them. So if you display, let me just spotlight myself for a minute. If you display this guy on your shelf, they're either in his hands, strapped to his chest, or he's wearing them. So there's nothing hanging around cluttering up the display, right? But then you think about the basic original 4 turtles. They had their primary weapons, of which they all had 2, whether it was katanas or nunchucks or whatever it was, and then they came with all the secondary fist daggers, karma, ninja stars, and only one of them, only Raphael, can store one of those weapons on his back. The others can't. So if you display your figures complete, you just end up with like weapons all sitting around the floor, sitting around their feet. And I'm not a fan of that look. But then if I'm not displaying them and I'm storing them away in bags, which is what I do for a lot of them, why am I collecting something that just sits in a baggie in storage? Yeah. So basically, I'm collecting something for the sake of it that's either going to clutter up my display or just sit in storage just so I can say that it's complete. I'm curious to get your guys' thoughts on that.
Well, I actually, if I was collecting loose, like in general, I wouldn't even bother with all of them because it's just like you said. I mean, even here, most of my loose actually came from sealed mocks that were like coming off the card, or because I wanted to try and have that experience of opening them. And the ones that you've got all the accessories, but 90% of them, the rest of them are living in sandwich bags because you just can't display them. And I think they probably went a little bit overboard, especially with the idea that most kids using them would obviously lose probably a lot of them. Straight away, yeah, for sure. Especially the little ninja stars. And yeah, look, I don't know. I think they loaded them up maybe because they were recycling toys. Yeah, just a pain. And even displaying them, a lot of mine, even the main ones, because they're big accessories, you can't really not have those. But some of the figures don't even hold them. They just don't. They don't work, And I think probably, it is frustrating. I think if I started to collect loose today, I wouldn't be worried about finding all the accessories because they end up living in bags half the time anyway.
Yeah, that's the toughest part. Like, you have this sort of completionist bug where you want to have all the accessories to say, yeah, I've got the 2 ninja stars, but the turtles don't even hold it. Like, the ninja star doesn't even go in their hand or his right side. So, like, I've got Panda Khan. So he's got an awesome giant axe. I actually don't know what that one's called.
The knee pads.
Then he's got the giant sword. Then he's got a gun. So, like, what do you do with it? So mine sits there like this, with these cool weapons, and the rest chuck on the floor in front of on the stand. Yeah. And that's where they live and do their thing. And like, I get it because I want the weapons. I guess there's that ability to swap them over now and then.
Yeah, you can change up the display.
People aren't coming over and going, "Oh, that's cool. You've got those piles of weapons all at their feet."
Yeah.
So, like you said, they go into the bags. They get a nice little label, and they sit there and make you feel good inside.
I think the whole completionist thing is an interesting topic because I'd like to do a video about this one day. I think this bug of being a completionist is so bizarre because nobody really cares. Like, I know you do as a person, but like nobody's coming over. And 90% of the people that I'm friends with don't collect. They think I'm weird, right? Yeah. Or they think I need to grow up, right? So, like, not having like this idea, I need all the accessories because I'm a completionist. I have to keep reminding myself, nobody gives a damn. Like, you know, you say, oh, like, you know, I have them. Yeah, great, but nobody cares. So I'll keep trying to tell myself that. Yeah. Because sometimes it's like it stopped me buying things because they weren't complete. And I regret it now because like I missed out or I paid too much later for it. That's
I started hardcore when I had a good majority of turtles from my childhood, but I didn't sort their weapons out. I just put all the figures into the DTOF and figured out what do I need. So when I started hunting, I was just picking up loose. And I remember like Scott's done a room tour video of MySpace, and we actually like say that out that all these figures, their accessories are all packed away. So once I did get around to doing it, then I was like, well, crap, now I need to make a list of every other accessory I don't have. Plus, I've spent the last year picking up Lucy's. So off we go again. And thanks to the community, it's been actually like amazing picking up a lot of these accessories. But in the end, you're paying more too. Like when you add up, you're paying up. You're probably paying for what you could have got mint on card or something that you could pull off.
Well, I have to say, accessories is one thing that in this community, a lot of people are like, oh, do you need it? I've got it. I've got a spare. You can have it. Like, there's been a lot of times where I've sent parts to people, and I don't want any money for it because it's like a double for me. But there's also been a lot of guys that have sent me stuff that don't know me from Bar of Soap, just met me through Instagram, and I was like, oh, I'm missing one thing, and they're like, oh, I've got it. So I think accessories actually bring the community even closer because it's the one thing that everyone tends to help each other with.
Yeah, for sure. Dan, where do you stand on accessories, mate? Like, are you trying to complete all your figures? Are you just trying to make sure they got their primary weapon so they can display, so they display nicely and that's it? Or where are you at?
Depending on the figure. So obviously, some figures, so I keep using Silver Spin. I don't know why, but Raph has a unicycle. So you're going to need that unicycle because it makes a figure. But I like to at least have one thing in the hand. This is one that really shits me. I bought this guy complete, and this trident just sits on the shelf underneath him. Like I like the sword and the shield better, so I choose it this way. So it's a bit wasted. You've got to figure,
but at least that's just one spare accessory. Like you look at a figure like Usagi Yojimbo. He comes with 5 weapons. Yeah, he can't store any of them. He might even come with 6 weapons. So basically, the way I've got mine displayed is I've got mine displayed with that long staff in one hand and the main kind of katana in the other, and 4 weapons down by his feet. And it's just
a lot of the weapons aren't even relevant to the character too.
Yeah, no, massive.
Very true.
That comes. You see that a lot. Like the gun with Panda. Like, what has he got a gun for?
Can I just say, Dan, if you don't want that King Lionheart weapon,
back to what you're talking about, complete weapons. I've got a bug in the last 4 months. If I'm paying over $100 for a figure, it better be complete. Yeah. So I just if I'm going to pick someone up for $20, $30, it doesn't bother me to have one weapon, But it's more. I'll never resell them, but I'm thinking of my daughter. if she ever wanted to separate from them, I'd like them to be at least worth top dollar, like other than being mock on card. That's more where I'd look at it from as an investment purpose. That's why I'd buy it complete. But that's only in the last like 6 months. Before that, I was just buying anything. I didn't give a shit. So I've got a lot of making up to do with certain weapons. So I do have a couple of figures that don't even have a weapon at all, you know. So, but for example, like recently, after talking to you two boys, I just picked up a mutagen man. Been chasing that for a long time, and as you guys can see for the chat, that is.
Hang on, just let me get you big, mate. Just 1 minute.
Yeah.
Because you need to be as big as you can for us to see these.
So like, these are the internal gut pieces. So there's like 8 pieces in here, or 9 pieces, and I'm scared to take them out of the bag. These are the original bag I bought it in, and it's probably going to stay in it because it's just going to sink to the bottom of the gut. If I could figure out a way to use some safe, like clear gel I could put inside him, and maybe if I knew it wasn't going to ruin the figure, I'd do that. Just because I'd love to see it floating around. But
they're just
like
vacuum.
A snow globe.
Yeah. Just imagine how many of those pieces went into Mum's vacuum back in the 90s.
Oh,
all of them.
They're so tiny. It's ridiculous. Like, how does that even make it past like a safety, like choking hazard? Is it too small?
It might not be a choking hazard because they're that small.
Yeah,
you know, it's just pretty little insight.
Yeah, Dean, the question is, how many of those got passed through kids' bowels?
Yeah.
I had that same thought.
But certain figures like Super Shredder, for example, he's got the little canisters. I don't mind that sitting on the shelf.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It looks good, but like having a mace just laying down on the shelf in front of it, half the time you don't see it because I haven't tiered my figures up yet, which I'm going to start doing soon. But like but some with like 7 accessories. It's just ridiculous. But like Enzo said, how many unlucky kids probably lost an accessory but had a backup of something else?
Yeah.
So like, I guess. Yeah.
Makes you wonder if that's why they added so many accessories, because they knew kids would lose them. And that,
it's
like,
weird.
imagine if they came with 2 and then the kid lost those 2 straight away. You know, at least he's got others.
Like,
because I've always thought like they have a budget when they're building a turtle, so they've got to have this amount of accessories if they're going to put this much money into the molding of it or something like that. Like, was it based on a budget per? It's
I mean, it's like you got to respect the value proposition of some of these figures that came with all these weapons. Like, you know, you think about it from a collecting standpoint. You know how you look at modern stuff and you're like, oh man, it didn't even come with extra accessories or blah blah blah. So you got to appreciate the fact that they were building a value proposition for kids. I mean, not that I never remember, like, I remember my childhood figures looking like this, just with the size in the hands, and that's all I really cared about. But I've got an example, Dan. You mentioned that there's some accessories that you don't mind sitting on the shelf. I got an example where I like them. So this is another one of my 20 top 10 figures. So Scumbug, absolutely love this figure, and he comes with all of his. He's just got one weapon with all the piping and the backpack, and that's all cool. He's got a second gripping hand that has nothing to grip because he only came with one weapon. So there was definitely some inconsistency there when you think about some of the figures that came with tons of weapons. But he came packaged with 4 of these little bugs, right? Tiny little bugs. Now, I think he came with 4. I think that's how many the figure comes with. But mine's got like 6 of them because I just keep finding extras and just laying them in like a semicircle around the figure. And this figure with like half a dozen of these bugs all around him looks awesome. So there are some instances where the accessories at the feet of the figure look great, but there's plenty of times where it doesn't look good. You know what I mean? Where I don't think it looks good at all, where it just clutters up things.
I'd start army building Scumbug bugs.
Yeah, the bugs are wicked. Now, another example. So, Dan, you were talking about it would be good if some of these figures came with like sheaths for their spare weapons. I agree with you 100%. Like a prime example of that is the 88 Raphael had a sheath for one of his fist daggers. And I had this figure and Donatello as a kid. I didn't have the original Leo or Mikey. And when I found these childhood ones, I assumed that the other turtles maybe had some accessory storage as well. And I was really puzzled when I got the vintage Leo and the Mikey. And I'm like, the vintage Mikey has his chucks at his back, but nothing at his front. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Leo's got his katana at the back. Why wouldn't they have had some other kind of, storage? Now, speaking of storage, you got to give love to the storage shells. So these came with tons of accessories, but there was a way that you could store them all. I mean, I don't have them all here, but in the shell. I mean, that's just genius.
Yeah,
so I reckon they were built as a complaint from parents, like we're getting the shit through stepping on like toys and that, and they put out some research out there and said like, all right, they're sick of this. Let's put somewhere we can put the weapons.
Possibly. Be really interesting to chat with someone from Playmates about like did consumer feedback go into any of that kind of stuff, because it's interesting to think that maybe they did, but also it just makes sense. It's a turtle, it's a shell, let's use that. So but yeah, Phil, there's at least 20 figures in my top 10, that's for sure.
But even the storage shell turtles, you couldn't fit everything in there. You tried as a kid. I remember trying to fit everything in their backs. But isn't there a way to do it, to get them all in except for the main weapons? I mean, I've never been able to do it myself. I had Leo and I could never get anything, all his parts in there. But you go back to the original 4 turtles. The thing was, I only ever used their primary weapon.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
playing with them. So all the rest, like they just sat there. Probably why they're all in such good condition and around, because I never used them as a kid. There was no point.
Yeah. But so yeah. Oh, sorry, mate. Go ahead. No.
So like one weapon I'd love to talk about, and not too much about, but like always, I don't remember as a kid, even though I had the figure, was Splinter's crutch with the dagger inside it. That came out. Like, I don't remember that as a kid, even though I owned the thing. And I was watching a YouTube video one day and I seen someone pull it out. I'm like, hold on a second. I went through my weapons tub because I don't have them all. I have them as in baggies, some of them. So, and I found it. I'm like, holy shit, this is a really cool design, how they made it come apart. It was the first time you had a little bit of interaction with a weapon, really, So, yeah,
that's a really good point. There's no other, there's one weapon that I find kind of interesting is, Razar's staff with like the little skull that's got the articulated jaw, because that's the only time I can remember any sort of articulation in a weapon. But that Splinter's cane, that's the only like concealed weapon, isn't it? Or like 2-piece thing. Like I can't.
April had the suitcase too, didn't she?
That's a good point.
And Hothead, he has. Is it concealed or joins together?
But for such an early one in the line,
it's genius.
Yeah,
it was pretty out there.
Yeah, I love that as a kid, because Splinter was always the old guy, and he just pulls it out and stabs someone. It was like, yeah.
Well, I don't know if you remember Blind Fury. Did anyone watch that movie as a kid? Blind Fury.
Oh, yeah.
The guy's got the side. I think he's got the bow which comes across, and it's a pretty good movie.
Yeah, but for me, like, I can't display a figure with no weapons. If I pick up a loose figure and he's got no accessories, like, I've got this weird thing where he's not fit to go on display. If he's got one weapon in each hand, then I'm like, okay, cool. I'll put him on display now, and if I get other weapons, I'll just add it to the display, or if I get the shits with it, I'll just keep them baggied up. But I've got this weird thing where, like, I need to have at least 1 or 2 weapons for it to go on display, and then if I can, I'll complete it. But I'm starting to, like, evolve in my thinking of, look, when you get to, like, those second tier, like, little weapons, if I can find them, I will, but I'm not going to, like, lose sleep over them. You know what I'm saying?
So I think the same, but the reason I display them is so it gets into my brain that I need to get that weapon or something like it. But then I get to a toy fair and just Owen pulls out a box full of weapons and I lose my shit. I can't remember anything.
I think Dean's just read his comment and he's checked, haven't you, Dean? I can see you smiling.
So Strick just put up a comment saying it has it too. Check that out.
Hang on, let me make you big. I can't see.
What is it? Got the concealed?
Yeah, so the new one. Yeah. See?
Shit.
The join there?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Oh, and the grip on the
Yeah,
cane
yeah.
has a color. That's wicked.
It's painted.
So even the vintage mutation splinter has an orange one. Has the same.
Oh,
So good pickup. Good pickup.
That's mad.
Right. Nice.
There you go. Well, it's cool. It's cool when they do little nods to the vintage in terms of those kinds of details.
yeah, for sure.
That's 88 to what 2023. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Did you guys have any other thoughts when it comes to the accessory stuff?
The only thing I was going to say is I know we're all in the same boat with a couple of our figures, especially in the later lines where we're down to like one. So Scale Tail, for example, most people, I don't know, Scott, you're in the same boat as me, is chasing that whip accessory. It seems to be like there are a couple of figures that just have this particular accessory that seems to get lost. Like Sergeant Bananas, his little offsider, and that it just makes it. That's the bit that gets the completionists, and like I'm not going for a complete line of the Turtles in its entirety at all, no way. But just those first 4 waves and a few others. If it's so hard to get, it just kills me inside a little bit.
But yeah, I mean, speaking of which, like the sidekicks, obviously, that's clearly the accessory that we're okay with having displayed with the figure because, most of the sidekicks they don't obviously display on the figure or anything like that, so they're cool. But yeah, it's all the like. But even King Lionheart's like staff thing. See, that wouldn't bother me too much. It's all the friggin' stars and little fist daggers and like the weapons that aren't even that cool or unique. You know what I mean? That's the stuff that annoys me hanging around on the shelf in around the figure's feet.
I like to point out that King Lionheart's my least favorite figure in the whole range.
Really?
Like I think he's just like this. He looks like a Care Bear that's on steroids.
I get it.
He does. He looks like
he was sort of like.
If he looked a little bit more aggressive and a bit more like like he was not as like he actually looks like a cuddly teddy bear.
Yeah,
I was just like, it's just so weird.
He's a good guy. Yeah, I mean, he has to be surely.
I think he's a
good guy.
Yeah.
There's a couple.
There's an ad for it back in the day.
Yeah,
with Anthrax and King Lionheart, and they fight sort of thing. It's really weird.
Yeah.
But
we've got some questions here from Comic Toby. TMNT Power Rangers toy crossover. Are you guys familiar with that, or do you have them?
That was the next mutation, wasn't it? The live action 97. I've got those figures, but I wasn't heavy on Power Rangers. I've only just started collecting.
Personally, I thought they were a bit tacky, but
yeah,
I never was a fan of.
I was never a Power Ranger kid, so it's not really my wheelhouse.
Yeah, no. My younger brother was Power Rangers heavily, so there was always Power Rangers all over the floor. Power Rangers, Turtles, Star Wars. House was chaotic. I reckon Dad was just going through the vacuum every week after Mum was finished. No.
Yeah.
And the blimp.
Do we have the blimp? I have the base of the blimp. In the roughest shape ever.
There we go.
Hey.
Oh, that looks sick.
Oh, it's so nice.
I've got both. It's just that my Blimp 2 has a hole in it that I can't work out where the hell it is. And I've used the whole bubble, soap thing and everything. And I just cannot, for the life of me, work out where it is. So I'm going to spend these holidays coming up. Yeah.
You've checked the valve where you blow it up from?
Yeah. I thought, I did, and I put the extra soap on that. It's a shame because I actually preferred Blimp 2. It was more comic.
Really?
It was more cartoon accurate. But and the box art is more cartoon accurate as well. Although I think I said this in the previous one, I find it weird that they're like, ninjas, but their blimp says Ninja Turtles on it, and they're not really hiding the fact that they're Ninja Turtles. But anyway, great vehicle.
Yes, I am. I'm collecting the Mutant Mayhem figures. Yeah, haven't you submerged it?
The what?
Haven't you
The blimp,
submerged?
have you popped it underwater?
I can't work out. I think it must be like, I don't know, maybe ever so slightly, or I just haven't really spent too much time on it. Maybe I need to.
Right where your thumb is every time you put it in.
Also, if your room is fluctuating in temperatures, it can leak in certain temperatures too. If it's very
that's
slow.
true. Yeah.
Yeah, Beast.
Yeah.
I do collect those, and I also buy a set for my young one to play with.
Yeah.
So Scumbug's already lost his way.
Yeah. I'm only getting them for the kids.
Yeah, us. This kid.
I'm a sucker for a pizza fry, so I just bought the pizza fry, man.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah, Phil, I really wanted the blimp as a kid as well, but my most wanted figure as a kid was the pizza thrower. I thought that was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
Your parents were lucky that they didn't have to listen to that pizza thrower.
Oh, dude, I don't remember it being that noisy as a kid playing with my mates, Like, it's so loud.
So loud. The new one, at least when you turn it on, it only activates the motor when you hit the button to shoot it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I haven't cracked the chicken run one we got. I'm probably just going to keep that sealed in box because it's just going to be the same noise. But,
yeah, for sure.
It's so cool.
Sure.
I don't know about the 2003 one or whatever, the tank one they had, but it was the exact same top half. So I'd say it'd be just as loud.
Yeah. Alrighty, well, guys, we've been going a touch over an hour and a half, so we probably start to wrap it up there. Was there anything you guys had to add on that, or we've kind of covered it for the most part?
We'll catch whoever's in chat at Collecticon probably this Sunday.
Collecticon this
Sunday.
Sunday.
For sure. If anyone in the chat is going along to Penrith Collecticon this weekend, we hope to see you there. Definitely go show these guys some love on Instagram. You'll see their Instagram handles in the description of this video, so go give them a follow. Make sure you're giving them a follow. While I'm plugging them, I'll plug me. I've got a video that's premiering tomorrow night. What's that?
I was going to plug you because you plugged us then. But plug yourself. Go ahead.
I'll plug myself now. I got a video going out tomorrow night at 9:00 our time. So basically, the same time this stream went live tomorrow is when the video goes out. It's basically a toy hunt video from the last Collecticon, just in time for this weekend. If you guys are around this same time tomorrow night, definitely jump in for the premiere. But it's not just me. We're doing like a double feature. The Keep On Collecting guys and myself, we're premiering videos back to back. So 15 minutes ahead, 8:45 p.m. Our time here in Sydney is when the Keep On Collecting Boys video is going live. And it's another awesome, like, classic toy commercial recreation. So I can't wait to see that. So definitely get along a little bit early and tune in to Keep On Collecting before my video premieres. And that's it. No more plugs for myself. Dean, you have quite a bit of screen time in my video going out tomorrow night. So something to look forward to.
Yeah.
And guys, that's it. Yeah, that's it. I've got to give the people what they want.
Thanks to everyone in the chat.
That'll do us until the next one in a few weeks. We are going to do a Christmas special. We don't have a date for that just yet, do we? Or do we?
Yeah, I think we did, didn't we? Anyway,
18th, did we say?
Yeah, I think it was May 18th. Yeah.
Okay. Alrighty. Yeah, 18th of Monday, 18th of December. I think that's 4 weeks from today. We've got a Christmas special of the special edition of the Mutagens. So I look forward to chatting all things Christmas memories with these guys. But yeah, guys in the chat, thank you so much for joining us. It's been awesome. We really appreciate you. You guys make it what it is. So big thanks to all you legends in the chat, and a big thanks to these legends joining us. And Dino's back, and we're wrapping up. Dino, I hope you had a good work. I hope you had a good workout, brother. But we've just done our wrap up spiel, so mate, we're going to wrap it up there. But I appreciate you popping back in, and yeah, you can do that, mate. So thank you very much. We appreciate the support, Carl. We'll see you Sunday.
Boys.
Laters all, and until the next one, have a good one. Cheers.
Take care.